Hello and welcome to Autistic FM. My name is Haya. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm your friendly rodeo clown that'll keep us moving. You can subscribe to Autistic FM wherever you get your podcasts, and it would be really awesome if you did. That's how we grow and that's how we thrive. Over on our website on autistic.fm, you can find episode transcripts and additional information. We also have discussion threads for each individual episode, a neurospicy discussion forum, and much, much more. All of that is free. And if you become a supporter for as little as $5 a month, you can get a sneak preview of the topics we have coming up and even submit questions to our guests. You can add topics to our future topics wish list, and you can gain access to supporters-only discussion groups. We have a bunch of additional supporter treats coming up, so stay tuned. In this episode of the podcast, I'm joined by Trina Albus, a content creator and advocate. She shares her experience of being diagnosed with autism in her late 40s, a discovery journey sparked by content on social media. She's passionate about sharing her story and insights with others, aiming to raise awareness and foster a greater understanding of the autistic experience. Our conversation covers a wide range of topics, including Trina's realization of being neurodivergent, the role of sensory processing in her daily life, and her determined steps towards self-acceptance and setting boundaries. We explore her experiences of using alcohol as a coping mechanism, the impacts of childhood bullying, and her ongoing work to heal complex trauma. Here's a quick trigger warning. This episode does contain discussions about neurodivergence and autism diagnoses, sensory processing challenges, alcohol use, childhood bullying, and complex trauma. We handle these topics with care and there's no graphic detail, but please do look after yourself and listen accordingly. With all of that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome, wonderful guest. Would you start by sharing your name and your pronouns, please?
Hi, my name is Trina Albus and my pronouns are she, her.
Hello, Trina. I've been following you on various parts of the internet for a while, and I love the content you're putting out there. Thank you so much for doing that and for telling your story. It's a delight to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Awesome. I'm curious, where in the world are you?
I am in Venice, California, which is on the beach right next to Los Angeles. So it's part of Los Angeles, but I live at the beach.
I love that part of the country. It's such a nice little corner. I'm curious, how and when did you realize you might be neurodivergent?
So it's a really interesting question. I wasn't familiar with the term neurodivergent, and I always knew that there was something different about me. I always knew, but I didn't know what it was. I never fit in. I was always a little different. And there's a lot of autism in my family, my mom's side of the family. So I always had my inklings of who was autistic. And I always would think about it and kind of talk about it a little bit. But it wasn't until I started using TikTok more during the pandemic. TikTok, the algorithm is really powerful and it shows you content and it starts to hone in on things about you that maybe you didn't know. And I started seeing this neurodivergent content and I was like, wait a minute, they're talking about me. This is me. And I started seeing more and more and more and more. And, throughout my life, I always would research autism here and there and then I'd let it go because I would bring it up with someone and they'd be like, oh, there's no way you're autistic. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, TikTok really gave me the confidence to seek diagnosis because I was like, wow, these people on here that are talking about autism and ADHD and neurodivergence, they're exactly like me. And I started taking the quizzes online again, to see am I placing on the spectrum? And it was really TikTok that pushed me.
Isn't it wild how this algorithm just notices that you watch a video for 5 seconds longer than another video and it goes, yep,
it is the
let's feed you some more of that content.
It is the most intelligent algorithm that I've ever experienced. And the fact that it was almost taken away was really heartbreaking because it changed my life. TikTok changed my life for the better. And I know that there can be bad things that happen to you when you're on social media too much, but it literally changed my life and I'm on a totally different trajectory now. And I'm so grateful.
I'd love to learn more. It sounds like you had an aha moment at some point, and from there, something changed direction. What was the moment and what changed for you?
I think that it was when I was really hearing about how it's a brain wiring thing and how the brain is wired differently. And I started hearing about different experiences that people have. I started seeing a lot of people that had heightened sensory experiences. And I have really, really intense sensory experiences. And I would see this guy talking about how when a motorcycle goes by, it makes him angry. And I'm like, me too. I get really angry and I'm like, why am I angry at an inanimate object? That doesn't make any sense. And then I'm like, am I mad at the guy driving it? And it would take over. And it would take over my body. And I started to learn that it was related to my nervous system and that it was something, somewhat, I mean, I think it's involuntary. And I was like, I really need to reshape how I approach this. They're talking about my experience here, and I really want to delve more into this. And then, of course, TikTok sees that I'm more interested in it, so I'm learning more and more and more. And I quickly started to learn the difference between autism and ADHD. And I'm like, oh, ADHD, that's not me. Autism, this is me. And so then I just started seeing more autism content and more and more. And I was just like, wow, I really want to pursue this. And I brought it up to my therapist. She was like, oh, I support you if that's what you want to do, if you want to seek diagnosis. But she was really supportive and she agreed. She's like, you're definitely neurodivergent, Trina. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pursue this then. So I really wanted to just talk to somebody to see if, again, like I would bring it up all throughout my life and people were like, no, you're not autistic. And this was the first time for my therapist, I would tell her some of my experiences and she was like, yeah, you definitely are neurodivergent. Like, she's like, I can't diagnose you, but there's neurodivergence there.
So what were the next steps from there? Like, how did you actually pursue a diagnosis and what did that look like for you?
So I had been doing research over the past couple of years, just trying to find out like who could do my diagnosis, what pathways could I take. And I quickly learned that it wasn't going to be related to my health insurance. And I was going to go the pay on my own route because that was going to be the quickest way. And I think there can be a delay in getting diagnosed if you're trying to go through your healthcare provider. And I know that's a whole nother podcast, but I'm very fortunate that I was able to just do a lot of research and find someone that I thought was qualified and was going to be a good fit for me and that I could afford. And I reached out and started a conversation and had a quick little Zoom interview because she was practicing in California, but was up in Oregon. So we had a little Zoom chat and I told her what I was interested in going about getting diagnosed. And it was a really good fit and we decided to move forward. And so then it was a very lengthy assessment process, but really it was just me. Like I had been doing research for quite a while now. And it was like, when I'm ready to go, it's going to be really fast because this is something that I had been really wanting to do. And there's a lot of information on the internet, but you have to be very discerning, what you read and make sure that you're picking a practitioner that's going to be the right fit for you. And I was really lucky to find somebody that I had a really good experience with.
That's awesome. And I feel like the super in-depth research piece of there, that is like at least 30% of your diagnosis right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd already done every single questionnaire that she gave me to do anyway. So I was like, oh, I remember this one, but what I really did like besides the quantitative part was the qualitative part, like we had a lot of Q&A and I was able to create a Google Doc and just put in there all my stream of consciousness of all the stuff that bothers me, and then I'm like, oh, and then I was walking down the street and I smelled this terrible smell and it just sent me over the edge. And I could explain to her like all these things of my day-to-day experience. And she was really bright and could go through that really quickly and then come back on a one-on-one Zoom and ask me more questions to go more in depth. So the fact that it was quantitative and qualitative, and we spent a lot of time talking to one another, and then she would share with me how she was analyzing the data, which I loved. And it was just a really cool experience because she talked me through everything she was doing.
That sounds really amazing, actually. I'm in the process of trying to convince a psychiatrist to go through a diagnostic process with myself. But allowing me to record it for the podcast.
Oh, cool.
Which, of course, there's all sorts of HIPAA challenges there. But I'm like, hey, I am really curious. And I think a lot of other people are curious what that process actually looks like and what that might entail. So you mentioned sensory stuff in particular. And it sounds like that's something you've kind of been experiencing your whole life. Is that right?
Absolutely. The sensory thing is a huge thing for me. And it makes me, I feel, the most different from other people. I would say from neurotypical people, it makes me feel and act, I think, the most different. It's like the biggest telltale sign.
Right. So how does that show up for you? You mentioned loud motorbikes and smells and such, but is there like...
So, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that earlier today because I was thinking about the whole like sensitivity topic and, we have 5 senses, but the senses that are the most heightened for me are smell and sound. So, I mean, the misophonia for me is huge. Like if I'm at a presentation and somebody's sitting behind me that's clicking their pen or somebody's chewing their gum, I cannot hear anything else that's going on but the click, 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 and it drives me crazy. And
Right. And the irony is they're probably stimming. So
totally,
like
exactly.
your autisms are driving each other nuts.
Exactly. It's so funny. So, and also like the person could be ADHD and they need, like they need to stim to like get their energy out. And like, I just want it to be quiet. And yeah, exactly. That whole topic is fascinating to me. But so it's the misophonia is like those little sounds. Like I hear sounds that other people don't hear. Like if I'm trying to work and the HVAC goes on in my home and it starts to clink the glasses in my cupboard and I'm trying to work, I cannot work. I have to get up and like move the glasses so they're not clinking. And I got noise canceling headphones after I got diagnosed when I started my TikTok page about autism. And like people were just sending me the recommendations. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't had these noise canceling headphones. And so like, that's a must. That's a big one. Like sound, whether it's like a screeching subway sound or like a loud motorbike or a loud car where I get startled and I get so dysregulated, or it's like these little annoying repetitive sounds. Like it's just like that. Like if somebody's sitting next to me chomping their gum, I lose it. And I'm very direct. I'm like, can you stop chomping your gum? Like I'm losing my mind. So it causes some issues. Or like, what's your problem? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's misophonia.
I have so many.
I know. I'm like, where should I start? But it's like, it's related to my nervous system. And like now I kind of laugh at myself when I get so mad at a loud sound. Now I kind of have humor and grace. I'm like, oh, okay, well that tracks, don't be mad at the motorcycle. But so it's the noises is a huge one. And then the other one is the nose. Like my mom has the most intense sense of smell. And I absolutely inherited that from her. Like I can smell if somebody is smoking a cigarette like 3 blocks away. I can smell it and I'm like, ah. Oh. And one time somebody got so close to me smoking a cigarette and I threw up. Like I am experiencing it so intensely. I have this like involuntary reaction to it. And so like if something smells bad, it's really bad. But on the flip side, if I walk through a street that has orange blossoms on a tree, like that are freshly blooming, oh my gosh. It's like the most euphoric experience in my life. So, there's 2 sides to that coin. I have to try to focus on the beautiful gift that it is to experience like a fresh pizza that's baking, and knowing that on the flip side, there's going to be something that I cannot stand the smell of. It's going to send me over the edge. Yeah.
The same pizza 2 weeks later, you're like, nope.
So it's like those sensory experiences that I have, I would get so overstimulated by the noise. And I noticed that like nobody else is getting overstimulated. And I'm like, why is that? Like, why am I like getting so mad? And like, no one else even notices it. So that was like the first inkling that I had that something was different. And I would be like, do you smell that? Do you smell that? People are like, stop saying like, we don't smell it, Trina. Nobody smells it. Right. and I'm like, why do I smell it? Like, why am I so strange?
No. Why am I so strange is kind of the refrain for my life, I think. It's right? It's so weird. And it's I'm often just embarrassed about it, if I'm being super honest with you. I'm like, my fridge is too loud. Like I've complained to the landlord that my fridge is too loud. And I'm like, I know I sound completely insane when I say this, but is there any way I can get a quieter fridge? And he walks in here and is like, it's a fridge. I'm like, I know, but there's something about this fridge that makes it knows that and sometimes I just have to unplug the damn thing. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I cannot, like my fridge cannot be on right now.
I have asked.
I sound unhinged.
No, I have asked maintenance to come fix my fridge as well. I'm with you.
Really?
Absolutely. They had to replace. There was a part that was loose, and they actually did come and fix it. And same thing. I'm like, you might think that I'm nuts, but it's really bothering me. And they're like, okay,
right.
Yeah.
So obviously, you had a sense that something was different. How did that show up for you as a kid and much earlier in life? Because I feel like that's where you're like, really, what is... how different am I? For me, anyway, there was this moment where I didn't realize that what I was experiencing was different from what everybody else was experiencing. And so why is nobody bothered by this? That experience that you just described, extremely loud for me. Was that true for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like things would bother me and I would notice that I was having a very different experience. However, what's really unique about my experience is that in my home growing up, I was in an autistic household. So my mom and my brothers, not diagnosed, but I've had conversations with my mom and one of my brothers, and I don't know that they will seek diagnosis, but I was telling my mom a lot about my diagnosis, and she literally paused on the phone as if her jaw was open, and she said, my entire life makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing this with me, because it was tough, you know. My dad's neurotypical, and again, not diagnosed or anything, but he was at work all the time. So I was at home with a mom and two brothers, and we're all autistic. So, but it presents very differently in all of us, as you know. It's, you know, there's no one size fits all. But so growing up in that home, you kind of think that like certain things are normal. The way that we were was different, but we are all very, very gifted. So when we would go out into the world and people would think we're weird, they're like, oh, they're just really smart. Oh, it's just, you know, oh, they're weird because, you know, that's just their brain. They're too smart. So it was like we were gifted weirdos. And like there was a lot of stigma to like just how, you know, how I was treated at school. I just was different, but only like when I was outside the home did that present. Because at the home, and that was hard because that's all I knew in the home, and like that became the norm. And then when you get out to the world and people are bullying you and making fun of you and teasing you, and you don't know why, because that's all you know. So that's when you start to piece together like, I am definitely different than most everybody else. Like at school, I'm different than most everybody else. And so it was difficult. And looking back again is just like my mom said, my whole life makes sense now that I have the diagnosis. Like I can understand and give myself compassion and grace and understand why people thought that I was so weird, because my brain is wired totally differently.
Yeah, no, I feel every word you're saying.
Good.
It's very, very familiar. How old were you when you got diagnosed? You said it was during the pandemic.
49. I'm still 49. I'm turning 50 this year, but I just got diagnosed in the fall. So I think it came through at the end of September, early October. So it's fresh. And now now we're in January 2025. So it's a fresh diagnosis. So I'm still processing, you know.
Have you experienced regression, like skill regression? That seems to be coming up for a lot of people with a fresh diagnosis.
Skill regression. Like, can you give me an example?
Yeah, I felt like as soon as I accepted I was autistic, I got a lot worse at stuff. I became worse at socializing. I became worse at handling the world. Because I was just like, hey, I don't have to take this shit anymore. Like, I've been accommodating for so long. I've been dealing with people's shit for so long. And now I get to actually have some boundaries because I know that this is something that I need as an accommodation.
100% I identify with that, but I wouldn't call it personally skill regression. What I call it is the great unmasking. My great unmasking. I started to realize how much I was doing to try to be neurotypical, to try to fit in. And I was...
Do you have some examples?
Yeah. And I was letting a lot of things slide. My internal voice is like, don't be weird, Trina, don't be weird, you know, because you know what they're going to say if you like, be yourself. I have this group of friends, and, you know, there's a lot of teasing and there's a lot of drinking alcohol, you know, like I realized that like drinking alcohol was the way that I have been getting by. Alcohol numbs my sensitivities. It helps me pretend to be neurotypical. It's really been my crutch. It's gotten me through. And when I got my diagnosis, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to drink anymore, because I realize why I'm drinking so much. And I actually have no interest in it anymore, which is so interesting. I just don't even like the way it makes me feel, because it makes me feel like I'm not me. So when I stopped drinking and all the rest of my friends continued drinking, wow, I started to really see like they're really different from me. And they started to see that I'm really different, because I'm different when I'm really me, when I'm unmasking. For example, if somebody would come up and touch me too much and give me like a big hug and like a sloppy kiss on the face, like if I've had a few drinks, I'm like, hey, nice to see you, cool. But I'm like, actually, I really don't like to be touched too much. And I think that's an autistic thing. Like it's one of the sensory things. Like I don't like that. And so I'll say to my friend, like, you know, I've told you so many times in the past that I don't like when you do that. Please don't do that. Like in a really firm way. And they're like so super offended. It's just like you're saying, like, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to put my boundary out there. And I realized that these people who I thought were my friends aren't really my friends. And that's been really hard. It's like good and bad at the same time, because I'm so glad that I can fully be myself, but it's requiring me effort to find new friends who are
Yeah.
more like me. And it's kind of happening naturally, but it's been really difficult. So like I no longer will put up with behaviors. And another example, when a loud motorbike would go by, I would normally just kind of like internalize it and be like, like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so loud. I'm so overstimulated. I'm going to go walk around the block and I'll be right back. And like, I say those things now where like I'm actually being myself. And the friends that are my good friends and they're my true friends, they don't care. They're like, okay, Trina, whatever, that's cool.
Right.
But the ones that, there are some that are like getting upset with me, like, you have so many issues, you are crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm actually just being honest about who I am now. So like, I think that it's been such a process, and it hasn't been that long, only a few months of my unmasking, but it's been fascinating to go through that because I'm so self-aware of the process now.
But I think there's a really beautiful thing that you're describing there, which is an incredible amount of self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-love.
Yeah.
It would be so easy to just continue drinking. But instead you're saying, actually, I don't like that. That takes strength.
It seems like it, but it was such a natural thing for me. I did it without even trying. I'm not even thinking about it anymore. It's like a really interesting thing. If I want to have a glass of wine, I will. I just don't want to. And maybe I will at some point after the great unmasking is done.
Right.
But like right now, it just feels like I want to be like really conscious and really alert of like what's happening so I can make some really good choices, because I feel like this is a really pivotal point of my life where I'm paving a way towards a much more fulfilling and happy life. And I want to be really smart about it. Yeah. So I want to surround myself with people who are kind to me instead of, you're way too sensitive. Like that's what I've been told my whole life. You're overreacting. You're way too sensitive.
Right.
Why don't you just stop crying? Why don't you just relax? And like now, if somebody says you're too sensitive, I'll say, oh, thank you. Thank you for noticing. I am too sensitive. I'm very sensitive. It's part of my autism diagnosis, and I'm proud of it. Because it's a thing, it's a thing. It's real. It's part of my wiring. And I can't wait to tell more people about it that are interested in learning. Not everybody is, but the people that are interested in learning about it, I am available to talk about it because I am excited to learn more and to help other people learn.
I love that. You mentioned that being a super sniffer kind of goes both ways. Like bad smells are horrible, but great smells are. And I've definitely gone 3 blocks out of my way to take a different bus to work just so I can stand outside a bakery for 10 minutes and waiting for the bus. I'm like, yes, I'm not hungry, but I want to stand here and smell this smell. And so that is usually referred to as sensory seeking, right? And it's kind of a weird thing about autism is that the things that you're really sensitive to, like sounds, a lot of people also seek out sound, like pleasant sounds or loud music or what have you. Is that true for you as well? Do you have sensory seeking?
100%. I am very into house music. I've been into it for years. I grew up in Detroit. I love the techno and the house over in Chicago. So like I have the DJs that I love, and I will stim by listening to the same track over and over and over, and it helps to regulate me. And the louder, the better. If I'm in my car, I'm in my car with an amazing audio system, I will blast that song and I love it. So I'm seeking the sensory experience that is loud. But on the flip side, if a loud motorcycle goes by, I hate it. So it's contradictory. So I will be seeking music. I will go see a DJ at a crowded club, and like it's crowded. There's lots of people, which normally really bothers me. But if I'm in the zone with my music, it's a totally different experience. So it's totally so complex. The sensory stuff is so complex as I'm learning.
I have been a photographer for many years, and I've written a bunch of books about photography and all that. And I did a lot of sensory seeking, going to loud gigs and that kind of thing. And for a hot minute, I thought, I love music. I love photography. Maybe I could be a music photographer. So I went and shot music for a while until I started getting these absolutely terrible panic attacks, which I now realize are actually meltdowns. So what happened was that I can take photos, I can listen to very loud music. I just can't do both at the same time. And what I recognize is that 2 different parts of my, like one is like I'm super focused on my visual because I'm taking photographs, right? Stills. Audio-wise, I get incredibly overstimulated. And it was a series of gigs where I was like, I completely lost it. And I was like, I can't breathe. I'm scared. And I had security take me out of the building. I was like, please, something is wrong. Take me out. And only like recently, and this is like 20 years ago, and now I realize, oh, that's what that was. But it is completely wild to replay.
Yes.
Like if I'm replaying some of the most traumatic things that have ever happened to me through the lens of being autistic, they all make sense. And there's this weird relief, but it's also this weird thing of like, oh, all this work I've been doing with my therapist, I'm now having to redo through a different lens because we could never quite figure out what was going on. And now it makes sense. It is such a bizarre experience. Have you had a similar thing?
I am listening to you and I'm saying 100%. It is like you look through your life through a different lens. And I've got almost 50 years of that. So you can imagine the level of processing that I'm doing. It's sad and it's delightful and promising, you know, because you think back to that, all that pain that you were going through because you didn't understand. And now you're like, well, this is exciting because now I know my limitations and I know what I should avoid. And if I do get into a situation like that, when that feeling arises, I know how to better handle it and take care of myself now because I understand it. You know, because maybe you would be going into the same situation, not knowing what's going on. And you're having a panic attack about having a panic attack, right? Because you don't know what's going to cause it. And so you get anticipatory anxiety. But, you know, that for me has calmed me down so much because I know, like, okay, if you're going to walk out to Venice Beach right now on a busy weekend, there's going to be so much activity going on. It's going to be really loud and there's going to be tons of people smoking marijuana and cigarettes and it's going to bother you a lot. So let's go slow. And if you get overstimulated, we'll just go home. You know, and like, I understand that now. And I feel bad for the former me that didn't understand what's going on. But now I can look forward to a more calm future because I understand what's going on in my brain.
What a gift to give yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest changes that has happened for me is that I let myself freeze. Like when I'm having emotionally complex conversations with close friends or my partner, sometimes I just go nonverbal. And I let myself. I'm like, I don't have words right now. Like I'm overwhelmed. My brain is going in 19 different directions. I don't have access to words. And it's been such a beautiful thing for her to reach over and just put a hand on my neck and go like, hey, like, yes, yeah,
That's wonderful.
I'm not fully here right now.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah. And she's neurotypical, right? And honestly, part of the reason for this podcast to begin with is that I want to write a book and basically how to love autistic people better kind of thing. I know. But she was the inspiration. I was like, oh, you're asking me how you can help. And I don't know, but by Jove, I will go find out.
I think that's, I just think that's so wonderful because I started my TikTok account right when I was getting diagnosed because I was so excited to share my new special interest with the world. And the community quickly grew and there's a lot of engagement in there on TikTok. It's incredible. But there were some people that would engage with my content that were neurotypical and would say, my partner's is neurodivergent or my husband or my wife. And do you have any books that you could recommend for me? Or does this really happen to you? I can't believe it. And there are people that are seeking out ways to better understand us. It really warmed my heart to see that there are people that want to learn more and be better in their relationships.
Well, I think that is what growth looks like, right? If you want to love someone who is going through, I mean, you're not the same person today than you were 6 months ago.
Nope. And
your friends are having to accept that. The ones who want to smoosh all over you, like, less smooshing, please.
Yeah. Or, you know, and I've cut some of those people out of my life as well. Like I really put down a hard boundary and I'm like, I'm not going to continue to be friends with you anymore because it's not healthy for me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Great.
So
yeah,
I think that your book is going to be great.
What was that like for you?
It was actually quite healing, very cathartic because it felt like when I put up that boundary to cut off those friendships, I felt like I was doing it for all of the times in my life in the past that I didn't do it. It's like for my younger self, it was like doing it for her. And I'm building a relationship, you know, with my inner child and she can say, thank you for standing up for me. Thank you for doing that. And it's this process that I'm going through where the choices I make today really do impact me from a long way back, because they're choices that I'm making now that I'm really confident about that I wouldn't have been in the past, because I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know why
Right.
I was getting so bullied and so mistreated. And I was like, well, there's got to be something wrong with me. I have to be doing something wrong. And like now I'm like, nope, this is me. And I don't like you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And it like there's something in me healed so deeply. It's at such a profound level, because I felt like I was standing up for all of those younger parts of me. And it
Yeah.
just clears such a beautiful path for me moving forward. And I have been working so hard on this, so to have these moments of healing, deep healing, has been a wonderful reward, because it's really hard work to get into the trenches and dig up all this stuff, all this pain from all of the years past.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the bullying really fucked me up.
Me too.
Like really
Me
badly
too.
fucked me
Me
up.
too.
And there are behaviors in there that I'm still trying to unpick. And it's brutal. It is really, really hard.
Yeah, that's
Because these are all the like defense mechanisms that or that I learned over the years, and that I realized, oh, this doesn't serve me. I don't have to be liked at all costs. I don't have to be somebody giving me a piece of feedback. Like if they didn't care, they wouldn't do that. They're not bullying me. But my entire central nervous system goes, there's a saber-toothed tiger. I was like, no, there's no tiger.
Oh,
This
yes.
is normal behavior.
That's like my main area of therapy right now, because I have so much complex trauma, which I don't even know that I had, from all of this mistreatment and all this really intense bullying. And it's the same thing. Like you overreact to the external person, seems like you're reacting, but your nervous system is really that dysregulated. And it like,
Yeah.
It's something that I'm working to heal, but it really messed me up as well. And it's something that I'm unpacking right now, because what I do right now is if I'm being bullied now, or I see somebody being mistreated, I kind of go overboard, because I'm trying to save somebody else, or I'm trying to like stand up for the younger me that was like totally dissociated. Like I just dissociated because like when I was in middle school, like I didn't know how to handle the constant bullying. So I just kind of like would leave my body, and like, like I'm trying to heal that now. And it's a really complex, sticky, murky area. It's difficult.
Yeah. It's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
What is the most interesting thing you've learned on that journey?
What's the most interesting thing I've learned so far? It's like so fresh. What I think is really interesting is that this is so deeply ingrained in me, and it's underneath so many different layers, or it was underneath so many different layers, that only now am I getting to the root of that pain, and that how much that bullying really hurt me and messed me up. Because I think at the time I was like, oh, whatever, I'll be fine. And like, that's kind of the MO of how I grew up. Like if you ignore it, it'll go away. If you ignore it, it didn't happen. And then it kind of gets buried. And then you're like, wow, this is still here. And as I've been, going through my diagnosis and talking through this with my therapist, I'm finding out what's in there, and it's really excited to be coming out, but it's very daunting, because it does cause my nervous system to get really dysregulated and overreact, because it's something that hasn't been seen or dealt with in like 40 years, like almost 40 years it's been in there. So it's in there. Like there's more in there. There's more stored in your experience and in your body than maybe
Oh, for sure. And the wild thing is, to me, is like now I've got some language, right? I have some ways of dealing with like, oh, this is a level 3 problem, but I'm having a level 11 response.
Yes.
How do I deal with this, right? And I trace it back. It's like, oh yeah, this is like, this reminds me of this one very specific incident that I mishandled, but the way I handled it was the only way I knew how. I have some grace for that for myself, but also, yeah, there's a lot of anger there.
Yeah, and
a lot of anger.
And I think what's really helping me is, I notice a reaction that I had, and just to have that self-awareness, like you said, like, oh wow, that was an 11. And I get really curious.
Right.
Why was that an 11? Why did I do that? Like, what's that related to? And just having those conversations and having that self-awareness means you're on the path to healing, because in the past I would just like
Right.
flip off and be like, well, or like I'd flip out and I'd be like, well, it's all that person's fault. That person's horrible. And it's like, actually, are they? Like, did they,
Right.
and so then you get curious and like, that's the first part. And I don't know the answers and I'm
Right.
working through that right now, but just to be wanting to learn more about yourself and your experiences is healthy.
Yeah. I start boring myself. Like I get bored of like, this again. Like I thought I dealt with this. Damn it, this again.
I know.
Right. But it's like there's a small handful of, they're not moments, they're like stretches of time where they're all super formative moments and they're all like not being supported by the right people at the right time, or feeling unsafe around people where I should be feeling safe, or yeah.
It's a lot, right?
And
It's
it
a lot.
sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks to have to deal with that now. I'm like, can I just live my life?
Well, yeah, it's really hard, but at least we know more about why it's happening and what's going on,
Right.
and can
Yeah,
and
no,
can
absolutely.
communicate about it. So that's really important.
Yeah. What do you feel is the edge for your work now? What is the thing that you're like, okay, I guess this is time to look at this part.
Oh, you mean for my neurodivergent work with myself, do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the edge that I'm on right now is just really unpacking that complex trauma that's related to that bullying. And I think that once I can figure out and what's really driving that and I can heal that, I think that I'm going to be able to be the master of my nervous system. My goal is to be able to go through life with as calm of nervous system as possible. And it's my responsibility to set myself up for success, so I'm not walking into a situation that's going to dysregulate me. You can't control that. There's always going to be variables that happen, but I can set myself up for success. And that's something that my therapist is helping me out with. A lot of the way that I go through the world is just, oh, it'll be fine. You'll deal with it later. And she'll be like, actually, no. She's like, it's not going to be fine.
How's now? Is now a good time?
Yeah, no, I know, but that's how I was raised to deal with your problems. You're like, if you don't deal with it, it'll go away. Or if you just pretend it's not going to happen, it won't. But it always does, And so I'm trying to be more proactive about setting myself up for success. Make sure that you have the right accommodations and make sure that you're aware of what could happen and set yourself up for a success in that scenario. Being able to communicate to others why I might be acting weird, it really helps, because I'm like, excuse me, I have to go do this right now. I'm getting really overstimulated. It's too bright in here. Like, I'm going to go take a little break. And, it sets me up for success, and it minimizes a lot of the fights that I would have with people, because people will get angry or mad at me and just like, why are you acting like that? And, or like, why can't you just stop being weird? And so, it's just, if I can be proactive about it and moving through life, knowing that things will come up and having anticipation, I just have a much calmer nervous system. And that's something that I'm learning. And I think that that's like the edge that I'm up against. That's really difficult for me to change that pattern that I have.
Yeah. So you mentioned that touch in particular was challenging for you. Does that show up as challenging in romantic relationships?
So it's really interesting because my romantic relationships are totally different from all the other relationships I have, in that normally I don't want anyone to touch me except my partner. And it's really interesting. And I don't know why that is, but I want my partner to touch me all the time. And it can be confusing when I don't have that same reaction. Like if we're with a group of friends and, I act really strange if I am uncomfortable, and it doesn't really make sense. And so knowing that about myself, again, sets me up for success, because I understand that that's a really big difference. And I don't know if everybody's like that. Like, autism is different in every person, but I don't have any issues with touch with my partner.
Well, and it's an interesting piece, right? It's kind of the sensory seeking versus sensory avoidance with touch, right? You're like, oh, I want this person to touch me, and I don't want
anyone else.
that person to touch, and that's totally fine, right? And this is you mentioned earlier, oh, we have 5 senses, and I don't think we do at all. I think we have many, many more senses than 5.
Interesting.
And I think, well, I think that autistic people often find themselves experiencing, some obvious ones are proprioception, like the sense of where your body is in space. Like when I am poorly resourced, I am clumsy as fuck. I walk around with bruises everywhere, right? And that is a sense.
Yeah,
that's a sense.
No, yeah, you're right.
And I'm not trying to correct you, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's a whole bunch of senses that we're not typically aware of, like temperature sensitivity, interoception, like knowing what you feel. I really struggle knowing what sometimes I sit around, I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable. Like, am I scared? No. Am I, what's going on? Oh, I haven't eaten in 2 days. That's why I'm feeling uncomfortable. Right. But in a very basic level, it's like that is like something is wrong in my body. I don't know what it is. Oh, I just haven't eaten. And thank goodness I'm not diabetic, because I would die. I would keel over and die.
Same. I'll get hyper focused and I'll work. I mean, I haven't even, it's 3:00. I haven't eaten today. Mm-hmm. That's normal.
Yeah.
Like I just work and work and work and work and work. And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. Why? Oh,
like, oh yeah.
3:00. I didn't
need some blood sugar.
No, same. I get so hyper focused, and I also get mad when I get hungry because it feels like demand avoidance. I'm like, don't tell me I have to eat. I'm busy.
Yeah, stupid buddy.
Yeah,
you can't make me.
I'm not gonna eat. I have work to do. Like I get mad. And then I laugh. I'm like, that's actually hilarious to be like that.
Right. At some point, I actually did a Google search, like what senses do we have, and I found a list of like 30 or 40 senses, and I was like, okay, what if? Yeah, sense of direction is one of them, right? Sense of time. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I know exactly what time it is. And I look at my clock and I'm like 1 minute off. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And other times I'm like, what year is it, right? No idea whatsoever. And especially if I've been hyper-focused, I'm like, wait, why is it dark outside? Yeah. Why am I, oh, it's 4 a.m. because I've been working for so many hours. But like giving myself the grace and realizing, oh, the natural extension of I don't really know what my senses are doing is all of this other stuff also falls apart from time to time.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting because as I've been reading through my in-depth analysis, I just got it recently from my assessor. Like I got this like 20-page document, which is, wow, this is great. Like feeding right into my special interest. But there is a lot in there that I still don't know much about. Like a lot of these things you're talking about, it's new for me. And you're right. There's so much happening that now there's a word for it. There's a name for it. There's a description of it. And all those things you're saying are all things that I experience. And they are not the typical like 5 senses. You're absolutely right. And it's fascinating for me to learn about the experiences that I've had my entire life. And it's again, like giving myself more grace because I didn't know these were things, and there absolutely are things. So,
yeah. Well, and sometimes some really weird ones come up. Like I literally cannot smell roses. Like I can walk up to a rose and I can stick my nose in it and I'm like, nothing. And my girlfriend will smell the rose and go, oh yeah, no, this is powerful. And I'm like, huh? Whereas lavender, whenever I smell lavender, that is the smell I typically smell after I've had a meltdown.
Oh, interesting.
Out of nowhere. Wow. It's just purely psychosomatic. But once I've had a meltdown, I get this overwhelming smell of lavender. So when I come across lavender out in the world, it makes me feel really uncomfortable because I very strongly associate it with the memory of a meltdown. And so I'm like, okay, well, thank you, brain, for being so weird.
Wait, it's psychosomatic? You're sure you're not really smelling it?
Positive.
Wow. So the brain,
positive.
Gives you
either lavender, either lavender or a very specific Indonesian food dish. It's very, very specific.
That is very random and weird and so fascinating. Because lavender is a calming smell, so it's almost like your brain's like, here, have a smell that you like, but it's not really there, but maybe it's stored in your brain memory that you can access. I don't know. That's fascinating.
But if somebody wears lavender, or somebody's like, I'm like, I can't be around this. This is like, it makes my entire I cringe away.
So interesting. Wow.
And I'm always curious. Like I have never known anything different, right? So my sensory perception of things. I'm an avid photographer. I do a lot of looking at colors, looking at things. And I always thought the rainbow looked really, really weird. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me that blue is one end and red is another. They actually look pretty similar to me. Like, wait a minute, that cannot be true. And so does that mean that my color perception is completely different than everybody else's? No way of knowing, right? Absolutely no way of knowing. I have great color vision, not colorblind at all, but everything looks really weird to me. And I'm like, wait, what? And so as soon as you start walking down the rabbit hole of like, what can I trust my own senses?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird, scary place to be, right?
I think it's fascinating.
It is for
like
me.
What you're,
oh, sure.
No, I just what you're experiencing is like, I'm getting so excited because I believe that we as humans have totally different perceptions, and I believe that we perceive colors differently from one brain to the next And so I love this topic, and I would love to figure out, okay, how is it that you're seeing the rainbow differently from me, and how can I see the rainbow how you're seeing it, and why is it different? And then you get into like all that quantum physics and consciousness and all of that, and then you lost me, and I'm just there for days. So like this kind of stuff, like the brain differences and all of this neurodivergence and all of this perception, and how we could be having a completely different experience yet we're in the same reality, is just so fascinating to me. And like, this is what I'm passionate about learning, like figuring out, and then sharing what I find with other people that also want to know about it. So I'm like,
can I tell you the most amazing way my brain ever got blown about color?
Tell me.
Do you know a little creature called a mantis shrimp?
No.
It's like a very weird, very colorful shrimp that lives in the ocean. And apparently, so we have 3 color receptors, right? Red, blue, and green. The mantis shrimp has 12.
Oh, wow.
And for the longest time, they thought, oh my God, these mantis shrimp have the most extraordinary color vision. But it turns out their brains are tiny. And so it turns out that the mantis shrimp can see exactly 12 colors and nothing else. Whereas we can see millions and millions of colors because our brain actually blends the signals. And so for the longest time, they're like, oh, these shrimp have the most extraordinary color vision. Like, no, they can see only 12 colors. And I was like, what?
But how did they figure that out?
Well, by showing like 2 like pictures or something to this shrimp that were very, very similar, but it literally couldn't see one, but it could see the other.
Wow.
Right? The thing that blew my mind about that is like, I was trying so hard to imagine what it would be like to have color vision that's like 4 times better than my current color vision, and then realize it's actually only a fraction of how good it is. And so that level of empathy, of trying to like imagine how somebody else sees the world, or in this case, this mantis shrimp sees the world. I don't know, that kind of stuff. I just, clearly this is one of my special interests.
Yeah, I'm like,
but I get
like all day.
super like, all right, this is so wild and interesting to me.
Me too.
And it makes me very happy to know that there are people out there studying this stuff. I'm like, great, into it.
Yeah, well, I want to read. Send me anything you find about it, because I want to read about it.
There's a really good podcast actually from Radiolab. I'll link it in the show notes and I'll send it to you.
That'd be great.
But yeah, it just makes me really happy that people are out there like just looking into all this weird stuff. Can I ask you about your career? Like, what have you done professionally, and how is that interspersed with your autistic journey?
Yeah, it's a good question that relates to all of this. So I started my career as a computer programmer. I always was into math and science and computers, my whole family, math, computers, like all of us. And I loved it because I'm highly analytical. And I really believe that my first job, when I was in a room full of programmers, that most of us were neurodivergent. And I'm like, yes, this is great. You know, because we're just like looking through lines of code and coding, and you're like trying to find the semicolon that's not allowing your program to compile. And it was just great for me, because I felt like for the first time that I was like fitting in, but I didn't know that it was probably neurodivergence. I was just like, oh, everyone's weird like me. So I've thrived. I was in corporate IT for 15 years. I was a systems analyst. I was a product manager. I was the IT help desk tier 2. I was not tier 1 because I
don't put you in front of people. But
well, I would have had a meltdown. You know, I'd be like, "Are you really asking that question?" So like, I was really good at tier 2.
Have you turned it off and on again, please?
I'm not like, that was not my level. I was like the next level down, where like they needed more expert help, and so I would like analyze the problem and like help them fix it. And I love like fixing computer problems. So like I was solving things, and so like the IT was really good for me. And I see these stories about many autistic people that don't do well at work, or they would get terminated, or they just couldn't find their niche. And I'm like, oh, it's because you got to work in IT. I'm like, IT is like the place, because it just really worked well for me. But I did have issues with working like overtime. Like I wanted to work for myself because I like the flexibility, and I realize it's because I'm able to accommodate myself really well when I work for myself, and there's no authority figure telling me what to do. You know, it's that whole like demand avoidance. And I would always naturally gravitate toward working for myself, and I was entrepreneurial, and I would start companies and this and that. And, you know, and then, but I've worked at big companies like Price Waterhouse, Discovery Channel, Time Inc. You know, in New York City, I worked for 10 years, but then I would go work for myself. And I always found myself going back to working for myself. And I've been now here in LA for like almost 15 years. And when I moved to LA, I took a job at a company, and it was a startup. And like, that didn't even last a year before I was working for myself again. Because I was like, and now I see why. Like, it just makes so much sense. And I started my own agency, and I was working with brands and doing their social media. And it was very, you know, digital marketing. And I was doing all the back end stuff, and I had a team, but it was mine. And so I could accommodate myself and have the schedule that worked for myself. And now I'm a full-time content creator. And I have been so for about 3 years now, I'd say, like just content creation. And I love it because I get to do all that back end tech stuff, like build the site, do the editing, the SEO, analyze the algorithm, look at all the data, and, you know, and then figure out like what content do I want to create. And then I create the content, I edit the content, I push out the content, and I use AI tools to help me streamline what I'm working on, which is so efficient. And I'm doing it all myself, and I couldn't be happier. I'm at home with my noise canceling headphones, you know, and it's just that IT background has really given me the freedom to do this all myself, because I don't have to rely on anyone, knock, knock. But it's a lot of work to do this all myself, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I've seen so many other autistic people and neurodivergent people that can only thrive when they're working for themselves or alone. And I was like, yes. Like when COVID hit and we could stay home and nobody had to go anywhere, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm going to just
I think
home
COVID more than anything. Right. Yes. Well, I think COVID more than anything else was the moment where people went, wait a minute, like a lot of people are having a really hard time with this, but I'm actually really vibing over here.
I kind of am embarrassed because I was like, wow, this is much better. And I mean, I did miss like the interaction with like I need some kind of human interaction. So it was a scary time and it was weird, but I was just like, wow, I'm really thriving. I think this is like the perfect spot to just be working for myself. So that's my long career, like from IT to beauty content creator. Go figure.
Yeah. I mean, my trajectory is not that dissimilar, to be honest. I was a TV producer for a few years and then ended up starting 6 or 7 companies over the years. And then
we can't help it. Like we can't help it.
Well, and I keep telling people I think I'm unemployable. And it's not that I couldn't be employed. Like, I have interviewed at Facebook 4 times. And I don't think I work there anymore because, you know, they've gotten a little eviler than I would like. But every time I just, like, I know I'd be an extraordinary product manager for the products that they would do. But also, like, every time I couldn't make it through the process because they were like, oh, I really struggle to keep my mouth shut when I see something that doesn't make sense. And I think that's not always welcome, you know? It's one of those things.
Well, there is a certain masking that you need to apply when interviewing at a corporate job, you know, and then when you're on the job,
I don't think I have that mask, Trina.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can see, but like it's a game. You have to play a game and you have to mask. And you, like, once you get through that and you see like everybody's a lot of people are neurodivergent, and you can kind of let your weirdness come out a little bit. There is a process, you know, where you have to mask. So yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for not masking.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It wasn't meant to be, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think the truth is, like, right now, I'm struggling financially.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, crap, now what do I do, kind of thing. And that's a really tough place to be because I'm like, oh, maybe I should go find a job. I was like, well, I don't know how. Like, I really don't know how. So it's been an interesting journey on that front.
The good news, though, for you and for people like us is that remote work is so much more prevalent and it's so much more accepted. So if you were to go get a job, it could hopefully be something that could really utilize all of your amazing skills that you could do at home while accommodating yourself, you know?
Right.
So I think there's
Yeah, no,
more
absolutely.
opportunity than there was maybe like, even 10 years ago. So that to me is exciting for anybody in our brain position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, I promised my guests that I will try and keep things to under an hour, and I've broken my promise. Could I
Oh, sure. I didn't even
ask you
notice.
my two, right? Time blindness, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I set a little alarm on my watch so it starts buzzing, because otherwise we'll just sit here
We'll
and
be
talk
here
for
and it'll be
9
like
hours.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, like, hey, you just fall over off your chair with hunger, that kind of thing.
Probably.
I have two questions that I love ending these
Sure.
interviews on. And the first one is, what do you wish people knew about neurodivergence?
So it's hard to think about just one thing because, wow, there are so many
You
things.
can have several.
Well, no, but the main thing, and this is related to my recent experience with unmasking, is I wish that people knew that neurodivergence is not a mental illness. It doesn't mean that we're crazy. Like my whole life I was bullied and told you're weird, there's something wrong with you. There's not. I just have a different brain wiring. And many people that I would tell I was getting diagnosed or that I did get diagnosed were not kind to me.
Right.
Were like, oh, you got so many issues, you're crazy now. And like, I was like, what? And I have to be really careful who I tell these things to. I'm learning, part of my autism is, I'm naive and I'm vulnerable and I project my goodness onto others. And let's not do that. Like, let's first see if this is a safe person for you to be talking to this about, because I get neurotypical people get really uncomfortable and they're mean. And I'm like, I can't have any more complex trauma. So I
unsubscribe.
Yeah. And like, I'm better at that, but I just wish that people knew that it is a brain wiring difference and that most of us, I think, are so willing to share our experience and to teach people and spread awareness. Like, that's what I'm doing on my TikTok page, is just get a conversation going and let's tell everybody like what it really is. Like, people, there's a stigma about it and people think it's bad, and I'm proud to be autistic. I would not be where I am today without it. And I don't want it any other way. And I want people to know that I'm not ashamed, I'm proud, and it's not a mental illness.
100%. And I think there's something really interesting that all of that is true. And at the same time, in order to get a diagnosis, you have to get diagnosed through this.
I know.
Right? And on the cover of this book, it says Manual of Mental Disorders.
Does it really say that?
It is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That is what DSM stands for. So you have been diagnosed with what this book says is a mental disorder.
Well, then that's why people don't get it.
Nuts. Well, exactly, right? And this is alongside with schizophrenia and all sorts of really scary, real, debilitating disorders. And so there's this weird thing that happens in people's minds, I think, is like, wait a minute, you got diagnosed with something that is like
you're crazy.
And I think the whole diagnostic process, well, yeah, like you're crazy, because the rest of the stuff in this book is like you're crazy.
Oh, no.
Well, and I don't love the word crazy, to be honest with you, but I think there's something in here.
Yeah. I don't like it either, but it's the term that people use on me. And that's why I keep saying it, because it's very hurtful. And it's like, I'm not crazy, I'm just autistic and I'm weird, but that's mean and it's not true.
And there's a really interesting thing that is there, because like pure autism without ADHD is actually relatively rare. There's very frequently a co-occurring comorbidity, right? And I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist. I mean, I have this book on my desk because clearly it's one of my special interests.
Yeah, I'm like,
but
ooh,
there's a thing here, right? But it is a very inherent problem with ASD. What you got diagnosed with
disorder.
Is literally,
I know.
Disorder, right? And it's one of those things where like, wait a minute.
I know.
And yes, autism can be incredibly disabling to a lot of people. And it is disabling to me. And it took me a long time to actually accept that I have a disability.
Yes.
Right? And that's like, oh, wait, no, it is a disability. It's a disability that needs concessions. It needs
accommodations. Yeah.
Accommodations. It needs all this kind of stuff. And I often liken it to wearing glasses in a way, right? I have without my glasses, I can't see anything. Like, I am blind as a bat. And luckily, the accommodation is super simple.
Yes.
It's an $80 pair of glasses, and it comes in fun colors. But yeah, it's a kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around. And as you say, if you can't function if a loud motorbike rolls by, that is disabling, right?
Yes.
And it's one of those, like, and suddenly it's a weird identity thing where, like, hey, I'm proud of my identity, but also part of that identity is disabling.
Yes, and it's interesting you brought that up, because the HSP stuff is the area that I remind myself that is how I am disabled, because it does get in the way of my normal functioning. So I do understand that, but there's so much else that I have that allows me to do things that I love. They're not terribly disabling to me. So I get what you're saying, but it is very, very complicated. And I just wish that people wouldn't put a blanket statement around a diagnosis is basically my take on it. It's like, it's so different for everyone. It presents so differently. There's highs and lows and goods and bads and things that, you know, feel like a superpower, and other things that are really disabling. And it's just not one thing. And I don't like how people just put you in a bucket and just kind of want to, you know, get rid of you because now you're crazy. And it's like, that's really hard.
And the things that are disabling to one person.
Correct.
The things that are disabling to one person could be a superpower to somebody else.
Totally.
You know, pattern recognition is great for one person, but if it turns out to be obsessive compulsive, then it's not great. Like, if you see patterns everywhere and it's driving you mad.
Totally.
Like, I saw the film Pi, and I was like, oh God, I recognize a lot of this stuff.
Oh no, I haven't seen it yet.
That is, but it's not a superpower, right? It's dark as hell.
Yeah.
If you see patterns to a degree that it becomes disabling. And I think that is true for almost everything. Everything that I perceive that are my superpowers could be disabling if they were slightly different. And it's anyway. All of this is me agreeing with you.
And we're learning so much more about it. And I wish that people would just continue to learn more about it and see what needs to be changed with diagnosis and just understanding on both sides, neurotypicals and neurodivergent. And I'm excited to be around right now while we are making such great strides in the space, but there's so much work to be done.
Yeah, 100%. The final question I love asking people is, can you tell me of a time when you were seen and loved in exactly the right way for you?
So my answer might seem a little bit unusual or a little bit corny, but honestly, my dog and I have the most beautiful connection, and he is the only one that truly sees me for who I am and has unconditional love for me, sees me and loves me. And when I'm having a meltdown or when I'm getting dysregulated, talk about pattern recognition. He is just scanning always for when I get dysregulated. Even if he's off doing something, he will notice, come over right away, and he will lean on me, or he will sit with me, and he will be with me until I regulate. And just to have that, when pretty much all of my previous romantic relationships were abusive, which is another podcast, another day for another podcast, but, you know, abusive, toxic, narcissistic, where it was always me that was the problem, which I'm now finding out that autism has a lot to play, you know, into that. But like, you know, even growing up in a family of dysregulated autistic people, it's really hard to see others when you're having such hard times with your own nervous system, you know? So I didn't really have that growing up. And then I have a string of toxic relationships. And now I'm healing by co-regulating with this beautiful dog. He means so much to me, and he's really helping me. And I feel really hopeful that I will have a romantic relationship with a man one day that can love me and see me like my dog does, because I know what that feels like now.
I know men are dogs are a very common expression, but hopefully they are dogs.
like hopefully if they're like a little Shiba Inu, I mean, that would be incredible. And, you know, like, I've been shamed in the past for how much I love my dog and how much he means to me. And I realized, oh, that's autistic. That's like an autistic thing, to be like super connected with animals. So it's my dog. Like, he's my ride or die.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. This was a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Trina. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Hayek Camps. It's been a delight to have you with me. And here's a fact I love. Do you know why seconds are called seconds? Well, that's because they are the second division of an hour. The first division is a minute, and the word minute literally just means small. So a minute is a tiny portion of an hour, and a second is that same minute also divided into 60. Pretty cool, huh? I love these kind of quirks of language. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to having you join us for the next episode.